We've got round two of our buddy Brandon versus Zohran Mamdani. Zohran. I like Brandon. I like what he's doing. I said it last time. I just wonder if he's not a little bit too Brewster's Millions with this none of the above campaign. I have to reiterate my feeling that Brewster's Millions with this none of the above campaign. I have to, without candidate associated with his media campaign here, I just don't know how effective Brandon can be. Now, that being said, I was thinking about this. I don't really know what Brandon hopes to achieve. Obviously, he's opposing Zohran, but it's not like he hooked up with, I can't tell Brandon who to vote for. Pick your candidate. I would prefer to see him have Curtis Sliwa over here, but maybe I guess Brandon doesn't like Curtis, or he probably would have tried to do that. I don't know what the deal is there, but it just, I was thinking about it. Maybe Brandon just wants to promote Brandon because it really seems like that's the best outcome he could hope for from this. You just tell people don't vote for Zohran. It doesn't really solve the problem, because I think one of the major issues with this mayoral election is that we have so many people running and the vote is so divided. You really got to talk to John McCarry about this. He seemed to know a lot about it, just how the ranked choice voting and all of that. Maybe that was just for the primaries. I don't know. John knew a lot about the mechanics of the election. That's the Finest Unfiltered podcast. Everybody knows I like that podcast, and those guys, they have great insights. They were in the city government, they were cops, they understand how it is supposed to work, and more importantly, how it fails. It's an absolutely beautiful day here in New York, Labor Day weekend. It's about 75, not humid at all by my standards. I don't know, maybe if you're from LA or Vegas or something, you'd think it was humid. But we've got the farmers market happening. So we'll see. I don't want to disrupt what Brandon is doing at all. I just want to mostly see if the maniacs are out. I suspect they will be. He's a pretty well-known influencer, so they like to try to disrupt what he's doing. It's really very full farmers market today. Lots of people enjoying the nice weather. We're getting close to the end of summer. I guess it's the last day or one or two more days for your seersucker suits and wearing white, right? The other thing is, I was talking yesterday about this whole Lisa Cook v. Trump lawsuit. It's amazing. And I was watching the All In podcast. That's another podcast that I do like, even though I got some questions about some of the hosts and everything. But they were talking about the lawsuit. And really the biggest pain in the ass on that show is Jason Calacanis. Not just because he's an obnoxious personality on the show. He admitted way back that he was there at Twitter with Elon Musk. He loves to name drop how they're friends with Elon Musk. He admitted that he was there at Twitter on the day that I was attacked. They didn't mention me, but he spoke about, Halloween and November 1st and being there. We're coming up on 3 years since that occurred. But I can't imagine that the security for Elon Musk was so tight and so on the ball. There's no way that they weren't aware that there was a significant disruption down on the street that would have affected Elon Musk's departure and all that. They had to know. And I presume they knew about the lawsuit as well, because prior to suing Elon Musk, but after that happened, the All In podcast does this thing, the All In Summit. And I got this idea. Well, again, I was trying to share this information with Elon Musk about Adam Sharp and Valerie Caproni installing the FBI into Twitter. because the fact that that hasn't been aired out yet, or as Charles would say, that hasn't been fully dry cleaned, to me it's still part of the problem that needs to be addressed. And before I came to the presumption that I now have, which is that Elon Musk has got to know and obviously doesn't want to do anything about it, I was still trying to share the information with him. So I got this idea that, well, I'll go to the All In Summit and I'll tell those guys, because, you know, they're friends with Elon Musk and they'll want to tell him. And this was, in retrospect, I'm glad it didn't happen, because I put $7,500 on my credit card to go to their, you know, VIP version, thinking there'd be dinners and party or whatever it is that they were offering that would give me an opportunity to speak to them personally and share this information. But after I paid and my credit card got charged, it got rejected. And they sent me back the $7,500, but I just was not allowed to purchase a ticket and go. So I don't know who would have been in charge of that. You know, it's Jason Calacanis, J-Cal, who's frequently talking about it, promoting that event. He seems to indicate that it's more David Freeberg who is in charge of, you know, sort of the event organization aspect of it. But, you know, who really knows how that all works? I get the impression that Chamath and David Sachs are maybe less involved, except as, you know, participants in the event. But it seems like somebody struck me from that participation list, and I think it was J-Cal. But the point is, he's frequently making stupid statements. He thinks he's a genius. I disagree. He yesterday was asking, I posted about this on X. If people aren't following me on X, I do encourage you to do that, at JG_CSTT. Very interactive on there. Now, I thought Brandon said he was doing his event in Union Square. Maybe I'm wrong, might be Washington Square. We'll go down there too. It's just nice to see what's going on today here in the city. But if you're following on X, I posted just this little thread here where, you know, J-Cal was asking the panel, oh, do people think that this is Bill Pulte doing lawfare by bringing up these mortgage fraud questions about Lisa Cook? That is absurd. J-Cal would not know lawfare if it came and flicked him on the nuts. Yesterday's live stream, I was talking about how Norm Eisen is one of the attorneys in there, and he's using this bizarre 501c3, 501c4 nonprofit structure to fund what I think are illegal law firms masquerading as nonprofits. I really think he's circumventing, if not violating, IRS code in a way that should be stopped. It shouldn't be allowed. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, right? So if a lawyer can go in there and figure out what the hell is going on with Norm, you know, maybe we don't need to wait for Congress to enact anti-lawfare statutes. Maybe there's a way to fight lawfare with existing laws. But I think the first step, really in anything, right, is identifying the problem. And when we have ignorant jackasses like J-Cal running around calling everything lawfare, that's not identifying the problem, that's obfuscating. And I mean, I say that with sincerity. I think he's simply ignorant of this. Like I said, he thinks he's a genius, maybe about everything, but he doesn't know what he's talking about with lawfare. The lawfare is coming at Donald Trump. And Bill Pulte, I have to say, I really like Bill Pulte. He's like a bulldog in the government, you know. And it's mortgage, so he's the guy in charge of the Federal Housing Finance Administration. He's like the top mortgage guru, right? I mean, I don't know exactly what it is that organization is intended to do or does, but Bill Pulte does, and he's doing it. So let him do what he does. But certainly if we've got people in there doing crimes, don't we want to know about that and stop it? Little Bo Peep stopping to speak to the goth girls. Here, stupid Mario Bros. But anyway, that was what was going on the All In podcast. So I, reposted that at Bill Pulte. If people aren't following Bill, go over there on X and check him out and reshare that link. I'd like him to see what's going on with Norm. I think he's posted pictures hanging out with Ed Martin. So maybe, certainly somebody like Ed Martin or Janine Pirro, they have the authority and the power to investigate what Norm is doing. I can enter all these lawsuits as an amicus curiae, but that doesn't really do anything. In fact, I actually saw evidence there that maybe Norm is reacting to my amicus filings, because in Zaid versus the Executive Office of the President, or whatever that case was called, I pointed out that they were using this Democracy Defenders Fund and Democracy something else, where one was a 501c3, one was a 501c4. They shared the same office, and even in their 990s, they were telling us that they were sharing expenses and commingling funds. That can't possibly be legal. Again, I'm not an attorney, I'm definitely not a prosecutor, but if the IRS says, hey, you're going to be classified as this kind of nonprofit if you do this kind of activity, and there's these sort of restrictions on you, and then you're going to be classified as another type of nonprofit if you do this politically oriented activity, they can't possibly want you to collect money from the non-political side, granting all the benefits to the contributors, and then take that money and use it for the political activity that they normally don't bestow those benefits upon. Obviously, that's circumventing at best, even if it's being done strictly legally. I don't know, somebody should look at that, in my opinion. Now, see, the other thing about Lawfare, again, JCal, here, where is that Elon Musk over there? People have stopped burning down Teslas. That's good. Remember, Zohran was involved in that. We'll head over to, I think it's, is this place out of business? This restaurant's been here forever. Wow. See, it's rough going around here. Yeah, so I mean, if Brandon was going to get behind a candidate, I mean, I was thinking about it. Maybe what Brandon is trying to do, really, is just raise his own profile as an anti-Mamdani political figure and then run for mayor in 2028, or when's the next mayor election? Is it 4 years or 6 years that you stay mayor? I guess 4, right? Anyway, the point is, Brandon's moved back to New York. I don't know, Brandon would be a better mayor candidate in my view than Zohran Mamdani. He's got more life experience. He's at least got the experience of running his own media company, which is very successful. He's organizing these events and things. I mean, for now, I would prefer to see Curtis Sliwa. Again, I mean, all of these guys seem to lack experience of running large organizations of 115 billion. I agree with Charles, and that's his primary beef. This looks new, Papa d'Amour. Charles's primary beef, or one of them, and it's a sensible one, with Mamdani, is that the guy doesn't seem to ever even had a real job. I mean, he's working for these like socialist, Democrat kind of like let people out of jail organizations, but he's never run a business. He's never, certainly doesn't have the experience to run New York City with a $115 billion annual budget. I mean, that's a bit, there's not too many people who have that experience, but Curtis Sliwa doesn't have that either. But the thing about Curtis is he's definitely sacrificed his own safety, his opportunity to do other things. His whole entire life has been dedicated to making New York City safer. And I mean, frankly, we need it. He knows New York. And I think right now he would be the best candidate. Brandon hasn't really, as far as I know, decided on Cuomo or Eric Adams or Sliwa. He's just saying, go vote for anybody who's not Mamdani. And like I said, I get it, but that just doesn't seem to help prevent Mamdani from winning. It's just further diffusing or dividing or just kind of not doing anything with the other rest of the votes. But back to Lawfare, it's insidious, Norm, remember, I yelled at him. That was outside the Stormy Daniels trial. That was drummed up by Norm and his friends at Lawfare. Ben Wittes was right there at that same trial. So what the hell are those guys doing there? Ben Wittes right there outside John Bolton's house at 4 a.m. So I finally did get to see the video. I think I mentioned this in yesterday's video, but unfortunately I got cut off about 15 minutes into the video. Very weird. It was in a place in Central Park that I've been before. People noticed there was some jackass jumping up and down behind me. I don't know if people have the ability to electronically disrupt my broadcasts or if they're bothering to do that. Remember over here last time, a jackass on a bicycle rode up and yesterday behind me. Unfortunately, failover system. So if the buffer, I lose the broadcast. But people who want to see the full broadcast from yesterday can sponsor the show. I posted it for sponsors. So if you're on there, on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth or on crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, or if you're following on X and you subscribe, it's very bright, it's hard for me to see the screen. If you're following on X at JG_CSTT and subscribe, you can also get the sponsor exclusive broadcast, but you can watch that whole broadcast, little walk through Central Park and walk downtown in New York City where I spoke about that Lisa Cook hearing and some of the arguments that were being made there. But I mean, it's Lawfare again. It's Norm, he's in there with Abby Lowell. I haven't yet been able to directly identify, who is paying Abby Lowell or how. But that's the thing. Once the money goes into these nonprofits, they could be paying Abby Lowell's law firm. Nonprofits are allowed to hire lawyers. The point is the people giving that money to them that goes to the nonprofit and then subsequently to the Abby Lowell law firm, nobody's paying any tax on that. And we're not going to know that Abby Lowell got it, for a year from now when the 990 gets filed. And I'm not a prosecutor, so I can't subpoena that kind of stuff. And again, it's not even necessarily strictly illegal, but it might well be circumventing IRS. I mean, somebody who is a prosecutor could figure this out more effectively than I could. And it's all of this has caused me to think. People say, oh, this person's a Fed, that person's a Fed. Everybody knows I've had some issues for a long, long time with George and his asshole brother. So George's brother sent an email to Abby Lowell and the various attorneys who are involved in this Lisa Cook lawsuit. Why would he do that? Why does he care what's going on with Lisa Cook and Abby Lowell? I'm not in that case. That doesn't even have anything to do with me. I'm just talking about it here in public. Why is that mentally ill lunatic so persistently focused on me? It really defies logic. It's hard to understand. But it's caused me to conclude or believe that he's got to be a contractor to the Lawfare Institute. And I think the Lawfare Institute is an FBI cutout. So, they don't specifically work for the FBI. Oh, look, aren't those guys, the new Hebrew Israelites or whatever they are, who beat up the kid with the... Remember that thing with the whatever kid walked up to the guy playing the drums and whatever it is. Anyway, the point is, seems like those guys must be contractors to the Lawfare Institute, and that would make sense because, remember, since 2017, I've been talking about Peter Smith, which is something that Ben Wittes, director of the Lawfare Institute, doesn't want people talking about because he was emailing James Comey when he was the director of the FBI all about that. And so I think a lot of people presume that George's brother is mentally ill. That might be true. Oh yeah, wait a minute. I guess let's take a look at this little video here.
Excuse me, waitress. Could you take some dictation, please? This is a motion to supplement the record on appeal pursuant to FRAP 10-E.
You have the target at 3 o'clock, approximately 6 kilometers out, clear to engage, over.
Hey, do you hear something?
Yeah, so I think, obviously that's an AI simulation, but it's pretty close to a documentary. George's brother has come under new scrutiny. There's a magistrate judge in the Southern District of New York who's going to be giving us a report and recommendation based on my motion seeking a mandatory psychiatric evaluation. It's where the court and a medical doctor will determine if George's brother is mentally ill. Now, I don't know, this doesn't look like Brandon's event over here. I don't know what we've got. Do we have chaos? Is this a... Those guys look like maybe legitimate news gathering.
Right now, a lot of the young children, I was just passing out a flyer, inviting all of you to join my fundraiser for only $15 tonight at 5 p.m. at 10 Pearl Street. I hope you will all join me. But I see some young people saying, why don't you pay for my meal? That kind of mentality. But when we were little, when we were young, we know we need to work with our own hands. And we take pride of working with our own hands. Don't we? And that's what we want. And then what I want to highlight is New York City. We were talking about Mamdani is representing socialism, but actually New York City is already in socialism. Unfortunately, we are already in socialism. That's why New York City, a lot of people cannot afford it. Why can't you afford? Because they're taking your money for people who do not work and do not try very hard and supporting them. So that's why you have a high tax rather than you can use the money to build your own business, support your own family. So Mamdani will worsen that condition. Nonetheless, I want to tell you something even more about Mamdani. He represents radical Islamic jihadism. So he is all about radical Islamic. And that is a very dangerous hidden agenda. If you study him, his dad said Islamic suicide bombers, he glorified them as soldiers. He glorified suicide bomber as soldiers. That's not what we believe, and that's not the city we want to build. So I pray that we will all see through his big smiles and know that we cannot have a London mayor in New York City. And London right now is glorifying a lot of even Prince Charles is glorifying Islamic radicalism. So we say no to Islamic radicalism. Come after me. We say no. No to Islamists. No to Mamdani. And I will be running in City Council, and I will be in City Council blocking Mamdani if he ever get elected. Because a lot of the
it's
secrets
interesting that we
New
don't
York City
have
must know. New York City
Joel
policies
Mottola.
do not rely on mayor alone.
We don't
Actually,
have the royal blue
Mayor
police.
Adams could not do a lot of things
We have more
because
normal
the
looking
City
police.
Council blocked him. He doesn't
Why is
want
that?
so many illegal immigrants, but New York City Council blocked him and got all those illegals in our city. So City Council is important, and have a queue for City Council. God bless you. Join me tonight at 5 p.m. And I hope Brandon will come. And Brandon is wonderful. I just want to say one word about my good friend. He put in the sweat, put in the energy, and he is full of good vibes, right? All right. God bless you, Brandon. God bless. Walk away. And thank you for coming. And thank you for the opportunity to speak. God bless New York City. God bless America.
Sweat, energy, and good vibes. That's what I am. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we're about to wrap up the rally portion. Stick around for a couple of minutes because we're going to quickly change over, and then we're going to begin the open debate, open dialogue, open mic discussion with New Yorkers. But before we do that, I want to invite up one special gentleman, friend of mine named Andre. Came up to me, he made a special effort to come out today, and he wanted to share his experience coming from the Soviet Union and what this means to him. And I want to give him an opportunity to say a few words, please.
Hello, everybody. You see, I'm not smiling because it's fucking serious. It is fucking serious. Okay? My grandfather spent 7 years in Gulag under Stalin. So it's personal for me. Very, very personal. You see the sign here that says democratic socialism. There's nothing more absurd about this word. There's nothing democratic about socialism. Does anyone know what the name of the Hitler's party? Nationalist Socialist Workers' Party. The only difference between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union, in Germany it was National Socialism, in Soviet Union is international socialism.
That's right.
They wanted to export it to all countries in the world. If you look at the coat of arms of the Soviet Union, you will see the globe without borders under the cycle and hammer. In this country, we cannot stand swastika, but for fucking some reason, we look at cycle and hammer and it's okay. It is not fucking okay. Not okay. I came here 25 years ago. I'm a legal immigrant. I am proud veteran. I served in Iraq. Okay? I got my citizenship. I'm ready to fight and die for this country. Like I did before. And I know if you speak to any immigrant from former Soviet Union, from Cuba, from China, from Vietnam, socialism never worked and will never work. And I don't understand why that so many native-born Americans want to experience it. Do not make this fucking mistake. You will feel sorry for them. You will not be able to apologize because you can vote yourself into socialism, but you cannot vote yourself out. It is one-way ticket. So let's get together and fight it like our lives depend on it. Fight it like our lives depend on it. Our country depends on it. Our city depends on it. Thank you for an opportunity to speak, and I appreciate Brandon Straka for having me. in this rally. Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. So we're going to do just real quick changeover here, and probably 5-10 minutes, we'll begin the open mic debate discussion with New Yorkers. Listen to some music, have a good time. I'm going to ask you, please, if you have not yet, please walk over to our volunteer table, sign up for our email and texting list. We're only going to email you and text you to let you know when the next event is or how you can get more involved. And please, 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 volunteer if you are able to. We need more people to knock doors, to canvass, to make phone calls, text messages, anything you can do to help. Please go sign up. Email, texting, and volunteer. Please go sign up. Thank you.
Powerful words there. Was his name Andre? Yeah, I mean, people who have lived under socialism obviously realize it's stupid. Now, see, it's interesting when somebody wants to destroy a Tesla building. When they want to terrorize Tesla customers, they have all the royal blue cops you could shake a stick at, but when Brandon wants to have a peaceful rally, they just have 4 cops. And it's not from the community affairs division. That's the royal blue outfits. So I just wanted to give people, you know, a little feel for what's going on there with Brandon's event. Now look, the weed is back. Yeah, these guys talking about the so-called white man.
Who the damn devil is, man. And our oppressors is the devil that the Bible speaks of, man. Read what you got real quick. Psalms 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter. The word of his mouth was smoother than butter, man. This is the words of that white lady, man. That white woman, that white dog, as Christ would have called her. Christ would have called her a dog.
It's funny, they don't look Jewish. What the hell is going on here? Really wild. Wild stuff. Well, I don't know. It seemed like maybe less of a turnout for this event. Brandon's putting a lot of energy into that. I hope it has the effect that he wants. I mean, I like I said, I like Brandon. I like what he's trying to do. I just feel like Zohran Mamdani has so much money and media attention behind him. It's very difficult. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to give Brandon any advice. He doesn't need advice from me. But I think if you had Curtis Sliwa at that, and kind of join forces with him, might improve the effectiveness of it. What do people think? What do the comments think about that Brandon event right there? F-bombs with an accent. Right, well, he's authentic. Wait, interview who? Oh, that Chinese woman? I don't know anything about her. Yeah, the black mask, right. Right, I mean, so there's still some people. We had that crazy Satanist guy.
Jason.
Yeah, hey.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yo, awesome, man. I've been watching your stuff for a long time.
Thanks.
I just moved to New York not that long ago. I'm like, one day
From
I'm
where?
gonna run into him, man. I'm from Miami.
Wow,
Yeah.
and you moved to New York?
I moved to New York like a crazy person.
Yeah, you're crazy, you're
I
crazy.
just love the city, man. Like,
Well, thanks for stopping and saying
yeah,
hello.
absolutely, man. I didn't mean to interrupt your
No,
stream,
it's
but-
fine. Were you over at Brandon's thing?
Yeah, I was over at Brandon's thing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was dope. Everybody talked already. I didn't really want to do for the whole Q&A, so I'm good. I said my piece, you know?
Yeah, well, enjoy the day. Have a good
Absolutely,
weekend.
brother.
Thanks for stopping and
Good to
saying
see
hello.
you, man.
Take care.
Absolutely.
So there we go. Crowdsource the truth viewer. That's nice when people stop and say a nice word. Move from Florida to New York. That's bold. I hope it works out well. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, people have enthusiasm for that. I hope that Brandon gets what he wants from it. It's a really nice day. It would be a nice day to go to the beach. So probably the city is very calm today. Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens. I mean, that election is coming up pretty soon. Like I said, you know, for example, I don't really like Coca-Cola. I think it's terrible for you, but they have a huge amount of marketing. For example, I don't really like Coca-Cola. I think it's terrible for you, but they have a huge amount of marketing and distribution behind them, and a lot of people drink it. So that's kind of like Zohran Mamdani. Doesn't matter. A lot of people know about him, so he's going to. What is that? Doesn't that look like some sort of electronic? That cylinder? Is that some kind of Wi-Fi thing?
Yeah.
Anybody know what that is? I haven't seen that on a street lamp before. We don't have it on this one. What is the purpose of that? Let's see if we can learn anything else about that. Church of Christ Science. So I guess. What does that say? Can people read that? Transmitting antennas. Radio frequency fields beyond this point may exceed the FCC general population exposure limit. Call Verizon. How can you exceed the limits? What the hell is that? Verizon is exceeding the limits right here. City, aren't there? I'm going to see what the hell is what. But yeah, we had that video. So right, so George's brother sending letters to if he isn't fair. This is that's what I mean. Capability over years and kid and got my first computer. And it was like 1985. And when something would fail, my computer, they would fail in more complicated through these complex systems and common the problem and figure out what's going on. And you know, people might not exactly get what I'm going for from an analogy standpoint here, but I like thinking about it in these terms because when you, particularly when I was at 21st Century 3D and you'd put together a network and you'd have computers and different devices, scanners, printers, networking devices, software of all kinds, rendering tools and different applications that had to interact and work together, and sometimes the craziest things would create the problem. Like maybe you'd have a particular brand of USB mouse plugged into a computer and that would be causing it to crash, and you try to render an animation and every time we render on this computer it crashes. Why? And you would eventually have to get to what is it that's different about this one than all the other ones that we think are the same, but like, well, let's try unplugging this mouse. Not something that you would think would necessarily interact with something as complicated as some of the other things, but sometimes stuff like that would cure it because it's such a complex system that any kind of gremlin in the works can cause it to fail in all kinds of unexpected ways. I'm getting a little bit far away from the analogy, but what I'm getting at is I think developing those skills of being able to look at a complicated problem that you maybe know nothing about at first and study every aspect of it until you can figure out what the particular peculiarity might be that could be causing this, I think has helped me in figuring out some of this lawfare stuff, because obviously I'm not a lawyer and I definitely didn't know anything about the law or, you know, practicing in court when this all started. But now I've been at it for 8 years. So certainly if I hadn't learned anything about it, I'd be an idiot. And I'm having some success. And I think that George's mentally ill, wife-swapping, hog-fucking, paperclip Nazi brother is like that off-brand USB wireless mouse that's causing the render network to crash. We got to unplug that and get it out of the system. So, you know, George's brother, he has been a very persistent problem. Here we have a liquor-infused ice cream bar. How much of that can you possibly eat? And how crappy would you feel? Maybe that'll control it. I guess you could probably drink more liquor than you could eat ice cream, although it depends on how much of a fat ass you are and a booze hound. But yeah, why would he be writing to Abby Lowell? Why does he care? I haven't even done anything in that case. I'm just talking about it. And by the way, it's, you know, one of the biggest news stories happening, at least yesterday. I think it's because he's protecting Norm, and I think it's because Norm is part of Lawfare, and I think that's why they were both at the, you know, Norm and, good looking sandwiches right there. Norm and Ben Wittes were both at the Stormy Daniels trial because they babysit these things, and that's why Ben Wittes was outside Norm's house. Right, so that's what I was speaking about yesterday also, was Ben Wittes running his mouth about being at Norm's house and how he wanted to be there. Right, so that's what I was speaking about yesterday also, was Ben Wittes running his mouth about being at Norm's house and how he wanted to be there because he thought they were going to leak it to their face. How did Ben Wittes find out about it? In charge of that. Leak, or if the FBI under him wants to leak to the news that something's going to happen. I'm not endorsing that, but I'm saying, how is that any different than anything that the Ben Wittes affiliated FBI was doing when he was sending emails to James Comey? It's the same exact thing. I think Ben Wittes is upset that the rug has been pulled out from under him, and he realizes that these tactics could be used against him. I should have pulled that video to play it for people. Ben Wittes is the most nervous, sweaty, little nervous guy on a podcast that I've seen in a long, long time, talking about him being worried that they were going to leak this to their favorite news. There's a guy driving really fast on a bicycle on the sidewalk the wrong direction down the street here. Eric Adams has been a terrible mayor. Anybody thinking about voting for him? I mean, I guess, will Mamdani be worse? Yeah, how could it be worse? He could be worse, but this you know. Yeah, I don't know. It really is a shame that some of these billionaires, like, what's his name? Bill Ackman. I actually haven't seen too much from that guy lately. He used to pop up all the time on X. Didn't Elon Musk a few weeks ago say that something was being changed about the algorithm, that they were adding grok to it or something, and that you should see some improvement? I don't know if I've seen an improvement. I'm seeing a lot more making me upset kind of tweets, and my stuff is definitely getting less traction. So maybe that was Elon Musk's purpose. And another turn of irony and lawsuits, I don't know if it's lawfare, but Elon Musk is apparently suing Apple because they're showing, you know, favorable whatever consideration to OpenAI apps that are showing up in their app store, even though, you know, grok is getting downloaded and all kinds of whatever. I look at that and I say, hey, Elon Musk, how is that any different than what you're doing to me? There's a lot of people who see the stuff that I post and say, oh, how come you don't have 1 million followers and this is you know, great research and excellent information, but yet I can't seem to get anybody I can't grow that platform. It's kind of the same beef that he has with Apple. He's a bit of a hypocrite and an asshole, in my opinion. Some of this construction is done just in time for nobody to move in, although this looks new. Oases, mindful collective inspired by Ayurvedic principles. So I guess this building is open now. This was under construction forever. Now you can have Ayurvedic, whatever, right next to McDonald's. What is this Oases? I thought Ayurvedic was medical stuff. Don't really know. It's pretty calm in the city right now. Maniac season, I don't know, it was a little bit at a lull. Because this is sort of perfect maniac season. They like the good weather. But maybe they're at the beach or Coney Island or something, being maniacal. Yeah, well, right. Corky says, imagine who Zohran Mamdani is going to hire. Yeah, you're right. That's going to be terrible. Well, I mean, look at who 5G antenna, the bishop's wife says. I guess that's what that was, but why don't we see them all over the city in that case? That was sort of a unique piece of hardware that I haven't seen anywhere else. I mean, even as we look around here, we don't really see any more of those things. Why aren't they blanketed all over the street if that's all it is? It seemed like some kind of specialized thing. Now, yeah, the Zohran Mamdani hires definitely likely to be a disaster. But I mean, that's the thing. Eric Adams, he's just been using his, mayor hood or whatever you call it, tenure, to enrich himself with money, pay robot companies undoubtedly. Remember they bought that $400,000 robot that didn't do anything? I mean, how stupid does that appear now? They bought a robot that looked like a 1980, it was like a garbage can on wheels. And meanwhile, we've got robots walking around folding laundry. In China, I think they're smacking people in the face. Wasn't there some robot that freaked out and hit the researcher and they were like, oh, Terminator is coming? Maybe that'll happen. I wonder if that was a 5G antenna. Like I said, I think we would see them all over the place. But the 5G antennas are this, I'm pretty sure. That thing right there. I see those all over the place. And you get good signal when you're near those. But I don't know, that maybe there's different kinds, but why have one like that right there? I don't know. Perhaps something more sinister. Look at all this stuff that's closed on a Saturday. Graffiti everywhere. I mean, Eric Adams has just been an absolutely terrible mayor. New York City, and that's the thing, this is the direction they're taking it in, right? Bill de Blasio, terrible. You might have said to yourself, oh, how could it get worse? And then there's like, okay, try on Eric Adams for size. Wow, that was worse. Now that you want worse, how about Mamdani? Boom, worse. I think that's the way it's gonna go. Let's go on a quiet street so we don't have to deal with 23rd Street. This is like 21st, where are we here? It's quiet. Not much going on. But you never know, right? Yeah, so I look at that totality of evidence I think that George and his brother have been working for various cutouts of the FBI. You know, remember George introduced me to Robin Gritz, and then Robin went and met with George and Jenny Moore. And then I remember I was looking through some old documents yesterday, and I found some text messages with Robin Gritz, and I had invited her to come on a show about Jenny Moore after her death, and she's like, oh no, don't do that show. It'll hurt you more than it'll help you. And I said, what are you talking about? Why? How would it hurt me to do a show about something that people were interested in? But isn't that just interesting that Robin Gritz was nudging me away from talking about that? Could she have been doing that because Jenny Moore was some kind of FBI thing that they didn't want me digging into? I mean, remember, I was building a reputation at that time as being somebody who was looking into Peter Smith, which they did not want looked into, and revealing things about that they didn't want revealed. Maybe they didn't want me talking about Jenny Moore. And it was that idiot Marcus Conte who got the autopsy. And I'll admit, at the time that happened, I was like, oh, well, he got the autopsy. I'm not going to go and try and get it. How do we know that was the real autopsy? How do we know anything about that? I mean, that guy was an absolute fool. All these people are like recovering drug addicts, losers. He was a sanitation enforcement officer of some kind. So, I mean, I don't know, if you needed to compromise someone, do we think that the sanitation police are the highest integrity individuals we could find? Didn't he write some book about psychic stock market predictions? That guy was an absolute idiot. And he was introduced to me by somebody who, you know, was just like, oh, I'm a fan of the show, contacted me on Facebook, said you should interview this guy. And that was at a time perhaps when I was not as skeptical of things like that as I should have been. I don't even remember who that person was, and I'm certainly not in contact with them anymore. So there's all these different ways that these various buffoons were planted on me, and then they became, you know, big adversaries of the George Moron brothers for a while. There was Marcus Conte, they would do videos back and forth about each other. Like I said, a lot of times those adversarial relationships are staged, or at least they appear to be. So, you know, they want to tie me up talking about nonsense like that if I'm onto something important. So now George's brother is writing letters to Abby Lowell. What does he expect that letter to do? Abby Lowell and his attorneys weren't exactly going to grant me permission to come into that case as an amicus curiae, and if I have valid information, it'll be up to the judge as to whether or not that's allowed in. And by the way, we've seen how those Washington, D.C. judges deal with my amicus applications. They generally don't like them. But this is the same crew, you know, it's Norm. The judges have to know. The judges are part of this. You know, this is a new judge. This is what is her name? Albie, whatever. I don't even remember the judge's name right now, but she was just recently appointed by Joe Biden. Everybody heard she was in the same sorority or whatever as this Cook lady, but I don't think Cook is going to survive. She's not politically important enough. And Bill Pulte had posted this morning that there's already CNN is going against her. I mean, people see this. They've got documents there. And people are wising up to lawfare, except for J. Cal. He's the only one, or he's among the few who are too stupid to understand what it is. But they see that Cook and her attorneys haven't challenged any of the evidence that has been presented. They haven't challenged the allegations saying she didn't do this. They're just making stupid procedural arguments. This is another hallmark of lawfare. You know, it's like George's brother. He's trying to come in to Goodman versus the city of New York as an amicus curiae. See, that's the other thing. They want to deny you your rights, and then apply rights to themselves that they don't even deserve. Abby Lowell was making this whole big argument that Lisa Cook wasn't granted due process, but you don't have a guarantee of due process in a hiring process with the government. It's not court. You have a right to due process in a court of law. If your employer suspects you of untoward behavior and confronts you about it and doesn't like your answer, that can be cause to be fired. Now they want to apply due process to that. This is lawfare. They're saying, oh, well, we're going to turn this into a court of law. No. I think Trump's attorney was right that the statute that they're talking about says that the president can fire her for cause, and that the only reason you can bring them into court is if they just say you're fired and they don't give cause. It doesn't say that the cause must equal you're found guilty of what you're being accused of. It could just be, hey, these accusations have come up. The evidence is really strong. What do you say? She didn't present strong or countermanding evidence to challenge the allegations. That's cause. You're fired. Get the hell out of here. End. So, J-Cal, that's what lawfare is. It's the weaponization of the law to achieve a political or military objective. This is a political objective. You know, he just tries to frame it in his own narrow, stupid Democrat way because he thinks he's a genius, and he's incorrect. But anyway, there we go. We got to see what Brandon was up to today. Thanks, everybody who's sponsoring the show. See, we know over here, I get jammed up on the signal. There's a certain type of radio pollution over here that's at least consistent. It usually clears up right about here. Should get some more motion in the video. Yeah, there we go. But become a sponsor. Get onto X and follow me at JG_CSTT. Or you could get onto crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. Sponsor on there. You can also become a sponsor on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. See, we know that this is a disruption of a certain type of radio signal because we're getting very smooth animation of these titles that originate from this phone. The camera is communicating with this wrist phone through its Wi-Fi, and something going on with radio signals over here is disrupting that. Don't really know what, but definitely the subject of radio signal pollution all around New York City. So thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend. Excellent Labor Day.